Welcome back to Dow Twang. I'm Dave. We're back in business after a very brief setback related to equipment, really more of an adapter, not a main piece of equipment, thank goodness, a relatively inexpensive one, but a piece that I have to have for this whole setup to work. It decided a couple days ago it was done, and I've had it for years. But anyway, I was able to get another one really quickly. So usually I get stuff up by the weekend, each week on here, and we're kind of carrying it over a little bit. We'll still have another video this week too, by the way. So we're on track. Right before that happened, I think either maybe Thursday or Friday, I had put a video up on YouTube called how to practice guitar freestyle or something like that. And kind of messing around with G minor and C minor. And I had a drum beat on there. Got a lot of good feedback about this and nothing else. There was nothing else on the backing track. It was just a beat. And, kind of talked about grooving and, picking one chord or a couple, a simple chord change and really getting in the groove and then kind of plugging into it and a few melodic ideas. But today we're really going into the melodic part of it, and we're not going to use any backing material, drum loop or otherwise, because you're going to need space to just, experiment. Let your ear, have time to choose the next note or to hear how these outlining these chords, kind of connect to one another and so forth, right? Once you get to where you're hearing it and feeling it, and you're moving around, and if you need to hesitate, you'll see me do it a lot today. This is how I practice. I'll hesitate, instead of just kind of trying to blast through a scale or something. I'll kind of stop and like, okay, where am I? Which chord do I want to change to, and what shapes, are near right where I am right now. Okay. So you'll see as we go here. It's not a complicated method, but it takes time, and I'm just showing you sort of modeling for you, like what it looks like to really engage in this method. So the first thing we want to do is we'll use the G minor again, and I recorded a couple things in that intro. I'm wearing different outfits and stuff because it was like 2 days ago before all this happened. So today I had to go back and look at it again and make sure I was going to, play the same stuff that I did in the intro. So I tabbed these out for you. Here's the first sequence of arpeggios using these chords: G minor, C minor, and F. Okay. Now, we don't really need the rhythmic aspect of it as whatever you want it to be, right? But those 3 chords can be interchanged and put in different orders and used to improvise with in a lot of different ways, okay? And in these arpeggio examples, they're all triads that are outlined, okay? There's no other extensions, sevenths, and so forth. We'll, throw some of those into our improv. But the main frame of it is triads, root, thirds, and fifths. Here's the first one. Okay. Now, that's using a couple of shapes. If you want to talk cage shapes, that's great. If it resembles, the kind of the E shape, or E minor in this case, right? The first where we started off there, right? That's just kind of straight up and down that almost, not almost, it is that bar chord with the exception of, adding the addition of that kind of higher note there. And you can go up back as far as you want, but you just want to see that column, right? Right. I just kind of finished it off there. Sometimes I went down and I did play that flat 7. I was like, oh, I said I was just going to play roots, thirds, and fifths. But since that's already happened, and it will quickly, sort of inadvertently, that's in the minor pentatonic scale, right? So those two things, resemble one another so much. And the blues scale. There's the C. Okay. Now in that first sequence, the first C was. So that's like a G shape in cage, right? But it's minor. So it's a flat third there. Okay. So I don't want to get you confused by naming all this cage stuff, but again, the important thing is to see that there's a full sort of, something that resembles kind of an open chord iconically in your mind's eye there. You could go right for G. That's kind of cool because that does use the open. That kind of swapped them out, right? It was still both of the shapes, but kind of that makes sense. So that's what you want to do here is move them around, and you don't have to do them like it says on the PDF there in that order. You just want I just mapped them out in a way where you'll get examples of each one, right? So after that C. Then I end up coming down here. I move right up to that F. Now each time I'm kind of bouncing, and you'll get a feel for that. I like to make my patterns for practicing where they have some kind of, nice feeling and sounding way of turning around and moving up to the next one or whatever. But you could do that in any number of ways. So after you come down, I just slide right up to that F root, and this time it's going to be like that G kind of, cage shape again, but it's major. Right? So we're really utilizing that full range of the strings on this sequence, right? Then I go slide all the way up to that third above the root, because remember I'm only using roots, thirds, and fifths on this on these examples, and then back down. There's that shape again, kind of that E main shape, and then I just kind of chromatically walk it back from underneath there to the G root, and I've got I put a couple extra notes in there just to kind of put a little closure to it, a little melodic closure to it. All right. So there's another one. I'm not going to put the tab up here for this one, but it's in the PDF, and it's the second example in that intro where I'm starting on the G minor with this shape. Okay, up here on the 10th fret, and that one goes like. Now that dipping down and coming back up. If you listen, I'm going to play it again. Listen to that. It doesn't sound like, when I get back to the root coming down, it doesn't sound like the measure's completed. It sounds like I want more notes before I move to the next chord, right? And so you just go down, kind of bounce off the bottom, and right back up in the sequence. And when you do feel like it's time to switch to the next chord, then you need to look around and see what's available for that next chord in the progression. So in this case, now it feels like I'm ready to. Okay, so what I did was when I got back to here from the G minor, pretty handy. There was a C root for that C minor right there. I just slid up, kind of like we did down here earlier. Okay, now that shape you might not be used to using as much, right? And it's a good one. You want to get this one going. See how at the top of that, it's like a D cage thing, minor in this case, but see that? And for G, check that out. Now that's a nice, so it's pentatonic sounding. Sounds like that G minor, blues, but you're really using these triad sequences in a nice way there. So if I start from the G, right? And there's a bunch of different ways that you could connect to that. So you end up in this position, what I call home bass, right? I just love minor pentatonic. I don't, when I start off a jam, that's what I usually, if it lends itself to a minor pentatonic, which a lot of situations do, I'll just start right, and I'll try to do some crazy lick right when I start that's going to be hit or miss or what, right? I mean, I just kind of do sort of an autopilot kind of. See how I'm changing? I'm doing it partially to demonstrate, but I'm slowing down. Sometimes I'm letting things kind of come out in a flurry, and other times, like when I get ready to switch to the other chord, I might need to slow down and just give myself space to look around the neighborhood and see what shape makes sense to connect to that next chord. Now, some of that, those are not things that I have mapped out. What you're seeing is just happening in real time, right? I didn't compose them. And, I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, right? Because when I go down, one thing that I've been trying to do, I mentioned this in the video the other day, is use stuff that's down low on the guitar. I would stay in kind of home bass positions a lot. For years, and when I would get out, especially down here by the nut, I would just kind of like, freak out or something. People tell me this all the time too, like, man, I get down there and I just, all bets are off. If it's an E or something, of course, but like when you come down there for a C minor, and it's the same shapes. There's that, we did that G minor down there earlier. Here's that C. And that might seem real odd to you. Use your ear. Go back up here. the same notes as that. Many of us are not used to getting down there and really being able to turn around at the bottom and come back up. But that stuff sounds really cool and it feels good when you do that. Um, so this is about using, you know, the range of the neck, right? Because a lot of these, will move you quickly the way that they slide. Didn't slide quite far enough, did I? No worries. See that? Don't try to take on, too many different cage shapes. Don't try to do it all, right? The two examples that I gave you at the beginning today really feature like two or three shapes that will take you around the neck, right? And if you take yourself to task and really kind of start, on different places within those patterns and things, it will really help you. And it won't be overwhelming where you're trying to memorize, 12 of them or something. That's overload, right? And you'll find that when you do it this way, a lot of the little ones that are sometimes mapped out and diagrammed separately are all integrated into these moves, right? And when you start to see the little chunks of it, then you can really situate it within your pentatonic blues scales and stuff, and it all starts to connect. But take it easy. That's the key to it, right? Go slow. Listen to the notes that you're playing, not just looking at the visual array of it, right? Although that's cool too. That's fun too, isn't it? Right? Especially when they work out, nicely, physically and mathematically. Use the PDF, but put that part of it to memory as quick as you can, and then move on and start. Then make yourself a loop or a drum beat or something, and get in there and just kind of rock with it. All right. Appreciate you. Let me know how it's going. I'll see you next week.